Well, thanks for joining us today for this 30-minute update on what's new in the Advisor 6.0 release. I'm here with John Pierce, our CTO, and Daryl Whitmore, one of our lead developers, and they're going to take you through all the new features. But first, a couple of key things in this release. The flight recorder, this is something we've been developing over the last several releases, and it's now available in both the client and our web version, and it now has the concept of bookmarks. So this is a key feature that's unique in visualization and exploration, where it tracks all of your visual discovery steps and basically keeps a cookie crumb trail of everything you've done, then allows you to save selection states with a bookmark and return to them in another session, maybe after the data is updated and those selection states will be applied to the new data. It also can be shared with other people, both from the client and the web version. So this is key to our concept of visual discovery, where you're exploring, tracking, going back to selection states and sharing them with others. The second key update is on how we do color. And Advisor's been unique in general on how we do color. Most visualization companies and charting companies color the charts. We color the data, and we then propagate the color through all the tables, and the charts then inherit color from the data. And this enables us to flag a metric with a color or a range of colors, highlight something in the data, and then see that same coloring everywhere. So it's chart independent because it's coming from the data. And what's new in the 6.0 release is the concept of color models. So we'll be able to create different models for different metrics and apply them to different charts and different pages. And this is important because as we design projects, there's usually groups of pages that are themes. So for example, if it's a promotional effectiveness project, you might have a set of pages on the left side that are about the promotions. And then maybe as you move to the right side of the project, there's a set of pages on the customers. And you might want to color the pages on the promotions about some aspect of the promotions, maybe their yield or effectiveness. And maybe when you get to the customers page, you want to color them by some aspect of the customers. Maybe higher purchasing customers get a hotter color and lower purchasing customers a cooler color. So that's fundamental to what we do, and sort of two key unique aspects that we've really put a lot of effort into. And as John takes it away, you'll see what's new in 6.0. So John, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Doug. So what we're looking at right now is the list of our final features for our 6.0 release. The major work that we've done in this release are improvements to the appearance and function of the heat map, and I will be showing you some examples of that. Some changes to the server UI, our client plugin for our Advisor server, which allows you to control the sizing of charts more easily. Some changes to the design style of the user interface in our client application to make it look cleaner and simpler. Some major changes to the flight recorder. One major change is that it's now available from our server application via our Silverlight client. Another major change is that now you can define bookmarks that you, using the flight recorder, that you can then reference and go back to in subsequent sessions or export and share with other people. Finally, we've re-architected the way we manage color within our tools, and especially when you're authoring. And Daryl is going to be talking about the changes in that area. So let's look at some of these changes. So as I said, we have, I'm going to be showing you two versions of the client Advisor Analyst application so that you can get a better idea of what the changes are. So, the front version right now is the existing application, our 5.9.2 official release. If you look at, and this is a sample project that just has lots of different charts on it. So it's a little busy looking, but it gives me a way of showing you a lot of things at once. So if you look at the heat map down here, you can see that the way that the groups in the heat map are shown using black outline text, and the way that the sections are divided with gray lines and things like that. Here's the new version of it. You'll notice that the text is both clearer, easier to read, and it's also not as dominating as it was with the black outline, so that the visual appearance is cleaner. We've also provided so that you can now copy the image of the heat map to the clipboard using the Control-C shortcut, like with the other charts, so that you can use that as a mechanism for getting a copy of a heat map from a session and then putting it into a document or other vehicle to share with other people. So so that's the changes to the heat map, and the other major change to the heat map is that we've added another way of controlling how the heat map is colored. So in the past, you could color by the count of items within a bin, the sum, or the average. Now you can also color by the ratio of two fields in your data set. So this gives you a way of showing the ratio of two fields in a heat map. Sizing entries in a heat map via ratio doesn't really make sense because ratios aren't additive, but it is a useful way of looking at the data for some circumstances, and then coloring it based on the ratio does make sense. So we've added this capability as well. So looking back at the earlier version, the current version, you can see that the design is somewhat broken up by these bold blue lines, that there's lots of framing around charts and things like that. And here's the new version. You'll notice that the framing is much less obtrusive. The zoom bars used for zooming the charts, panning, zooming charts, are less distinctive and don't break up the display as much. We've also the overall effect is that that the framing is less obvious, and although you can still move charts around, you can close charts, you can open the tool tray so that you can do actions with them, that the framing graphics are less obvious, so that the overall effect is a little less ponderous. We've also made some minor changes in terms of the task view, that it gives you better documentation on how to go about setting up a project and the capabilities that are available to you. And another minor change is that when you create a new page, you automatically get the dialog which lets you rename it so that you don't have to do that as a separate step. So going on to the flight recorder. So the flight recorder existed in the client only in previous versions. We've now added it so that it's also available on the server. And so I'm going to go and show you that. So here is the index for a server, and I'm going to load a page quickly. So here's the same project shown in the server. You'll notice that in terms of the design style, that the application design now looks much closer to the server design. And now there's a new button which will open the flight recorder. So the flight recorder is now a panel to the right side of your display, just like it was a panel to the right side of your display in the client. And as I interact with the project, the result of my actions is described in the flight recorder, just like it was in the client. And I can expand these, and I can see a description of what was an interpretation of what the action was, and a little thumbnail that shows me the graphics as they were after the interaction that I made. Now, so this gives you the basic capability of the flight recorder in terms of it being a record of all of the things that you've done with your project. Now, you can also, as in the client, select an action and replay it using the flight record. So this gives you a way to go back to a previous state that you had. And again, this is basically the same capability that we had before. A new capability that we have is that you can take a state and you can save it. So I saved a previous state that I went to, and I can now just select that from this bookmark menu, and it will take me back to it. And the bookmark description will show me exactly what it was that was done to return to that same state. So, so this is a bookmark that I created myself, and when I came back, I have it available to me again. Now, I can create a new bookmark by simply going to a previous state in my session. I can use this menu to create a bookmark there. So these are second base, and center fielders. This is a data set of baseball. And I'm just going to create a new bookmark. So now, if I go back and look at the bookmark menu, there's two bookmarks. The one that was there when I started the session, which I created previously, and this one that I just created. And I can go back to it, and it brings me back to the same state. So this is a way of saving states that are interesting. I can come back to them in a subsequent session. I can also take these bookmarks and I can export them to a file. I'm not going to bother to do that, but it puts them all in a single file. Then I can email it to somebody else and they can import it. There are, as you'll notice, the bookmarks are available that I created in a previous session. They are available on the same when you're accessing the same server. There are some limitations. And those are described in the documentation for the new release. Now, the client application, I'm going to get rid of this one. On the client application, the user interface has been changed so that the flight recorder now looks the same as it does in the server. So again, we have a menu, we have a set of previous states that we can go back to, and we have the same kind of interactions. The previous interface, which had some additional things that you could do in terms of starting and stopping the flight recorder, deleting things and writing things from the flight record here to a file, is still available via another menu item. But the default interface is the reduced interface, the same as it is on the flight recorder in the server. Now the final thing that I'm going to show you is going back to the server version. One of the problems with the previous server version was that once you created a project in the server, the sizes of the charts were fixed from then on. We've changed things so that now you can actually resize charts within a server session, so that if you need more space to look at something, you can interactively grab these little handles that are between the charts and resize a particular chart. You can also go in and grab a section of a data sheet or one of our grid charts and move over the entire column so that you can devote more space to a particular column to make it more legible. So we've changed the server user interface so that now you can, as a end user, you can control the sizing of charts, and you can in grid charts change the amount of space that's available for particular fields. So that's these are the changes in terms of the heat map, in terms of the server user interface, in terms of the client user interface, and in terms of the flight recorder. And now Daryl's going to talk about the changes in terms of color management.
Done. So I'm going to be going over color, and I'm going to divide this into what's new, what's changed, and what's gone. So first off, starting with what's new. We have added a concept of color models. We have added some more color tooling. We've made a small change to the way links are named. We've added a couple items to the project workshop pages, and the stuff that was in the color workshop has been moved to the project workshop. So for color models, taking a look at the prior versions to 6.0, the way color was handled, conceptually, it was sort of one large color model. All the pages in your project shared the same color model. Color assignments, the way tables were assigned colors, such as rainbow, were part of the color model, as were color links, in which you can define a link that will propagate color from one table to another. There was a little exception to sharing the same color model, and we had some functionality called locked pages, in which you could define a given page as being locked down in its coloring, and it would keep that coloring, whereas if you changed the coloring in the other pages, the locked page would retain that same coloring. However, color links were still global to everything, including locked pages. So we've added the concept of multiple color models instead of one global color model. And a color model is a new project object similar to tables, calculations, date times, and other types of links. It contains two kinds of color configuration. It contains the assignments, color assignments that you make to a table, and it also contains color links. So color models are assignable to pages. You specify which color models are used by which pages in your project. When you switch tabs between pages, when you go to that page, the color model that is used by that page displays the colors defined in the color model. Now you can create a color model, but if you don't assign it to a page, it really doesn't do anything. And there's always at least one color model. We call it the default color model. And when you create a new page, it is by default assigned to use the default color model. And then after that, you can change which color model it uses if you wish. So in 6.0, this is what it looks like. Here we have a couple color models. We have the default that all projects have, and then we have another color model 2. The default color model has certain color assignments that are different than the color assignments in color model 2. And similarly, there's color links over here that are different from the color links over here. And when I go to page 1 in my project, the colors specified here, the colors and links, will render the color specified by the default color model. If I then tab over to page 2, I will see the same colors because they share the same color model. If I then tab over to page 3, then my project page will change and show the colors defined by color model 2. So color models are managed in the project workshop. We have your standard, everything you'd want to do: create, modify, duplicate, delete them. And the way you assign a color model to a page is in the Page Properties dialog. So here we are in the project workshop. The color model node is in the tree, and when you select that, you see the list of color models in your project. And we have some things we can do. We can create a new color model, and then we can perform operations on these models. We can't delete or rename the default color model, but we can make a copy of it. And then if we click on color model 2, we will see the configuration for that color model. Again, we have tasks that we can do, and here is a list of the color assignments used by this color model, and we'll see this later. There's a list of the color links used by this color model. And here we have the standard Page Properties dialog, and this is where you would assign whichever color model you'd like that page to present. Now, the next thing that is new is some color tooling that we have available for you to help understand what's going on with color in your project. There's a color sequence tool that will allow you to see exactly how color is applied in your model. You can look at the entire model as a whole, or you can look at it, an individual table. Then we have some tooling to help identify problems in coloring in legacy projects. Overcoloring is something that could happen in projects prior to 6.0. and that's when a table is colored more than once. That could either be if you assign a color to a table and then inadvertently assign that table to be the target of a color link that's colored twice. I don't show it here, but you could also have a table which is the target of multiple color links, and that would also cause overcoloring. Overcoloring is flagged in a couple places in the project workshop, in the color assignments list of the color model, and then also in the color sequence tool that we just mentioned above. Then another thing that we flag is inoperable color links. These are color links that have no matching key fields. So in past versions of the product, it was possible to create a color link that actually didn't do anything because neither of the tables had any keys that matched. So no color would be propagated, and this could be a source of confusion. The next new tooling item is a new color link builder. It can allow you to create and modify color links, and it's a little bit more visual and gives you more cues about the link as you're building it and how the link is going to operate. This is the color sequence tool, and here we have it showing the sequence for all tables in the color model. In the first step of the sequence, we have colors being assigned to a table, and then what happens next is, because a color link exists, that color is going to be propagated from that table to a different table. So you can see exactly what's going on. Now, to flag overcoloring, here in the color model, overcolored tables are identified by a yellow flag. So in this case, this appeals table is overcolored. Here's the other place we can see overcoloring in the sequence tool. In this case, we see colors assigned and then propagated through various links, including to the core table, and then through more links, and then color is assigned again to core table, which has already been colored by a link, and this causes overcoloring. And then these links fire again and propagate the color, overcoloring all these tables again. So it's very easy to identify where things are going wrong and what you need to do to fix it. Here again in the color model, and the Cross Table Links tab, where we see a list of color links, and this link is inoperable. It is not going to fire color from entities to opportunity. Here's the new color link builder. You can define your origin table and field and pick your destination table and field. We can see that the origin table is colored by red-green, and as we're building this link, we can see that the outcome is going to be that eFashion is going to receive that color. The next new thing is there's been a slight change to the way links are named. This is something that sort of fell out in the process of working on color. The link names prior to 6.0 were very verbose and kind of hard to understand at a glance what was going on. So a better naming convention is in 6.0. And this only applies for links that are auto-named. If you wish, you can still provide your own name for links. So basically, we're just using arrows to visually show what's going on with this link. Single arrow for a single, one-way link, a double arrow for two-way links, and in the case of table copies and roll-ups, an arrow and double equal signs to kind of convey that fields are being, moved from one table to the next. The next thing that's new is pages are now available for management in the color workshop. They appear in the tree view on the left. They appear in left to right order, converted over from top to bottom in the tree view. And separator nodes are included in the tree view. So it's easy to identify the groupings that you've defined for your pages. And you have the standard management capabilities available. So here's the pages list, or rather node in the tree. And over in this panel, we have the list of pages in the project. As always, tasks, and we can perform operations on these individual pages. And then if we click one of these pages, we'll get some properties and, again, tasks that we can perform, including go to. From the Explorer or workshop, you can go to a page. Now the next new thing is the functionality from the color workshop, where you can create custom colors, has now been moved into the project workshop. So there's a new custom colors node, and beneath it, color scales and color bins. And if we click on color scales, we get a list of our color scales that have been defined for this installation. I have tasks, operations, and a handy preview, so you can see without having to click that modify button what's going on with that. And if we click on one of them, tasks and the preview again. If we look at color bins, it's very similar. The preview is a little different. Well, the next thing is what's gone. Well, color-locked pages are gone because they've been replaced by color models. Now, for backwards compatibility, if you load a project with color-locked pages, what will happen is a color model will be created for each of your color-locked pages. And as we saw just recently, the color workshop, the functionality has been moved into the project workshop, so the old color workshop is gone. Now, the next topic is what's different. Excuse me. Overcoloring prevention, the location of color links. There's a little something different with regards to selection links when you also create a color link, and data schema export. There's a little change there. So in past projects, it was, as we mentioned, it was possible to overcolor tables, which could lead to quite a bit of confusion, and you'd wonder why something was colored a certain way when you thought you intended to color it another way. So now we prevent overcoloring from happening to avoid all of that. So there's two ways, it's two sets of guardrails for this. The first one, when we're talking about assigning a color, will prevent you from assigning a color to a table that is the target of a color link. And you'll see this in three places. In the color toolbar, you just won't be able to see or select any tables that can't be colored because they're already colored. In the color model, the uncolorable tables won't even have a modify button. And in the color assignment dialog, again, uncolorable tables will not be shown. So the next guardrail then is in regards to creating color links. And in this case, you won't be able to create a color link that has a table that has a color assignment, or, I'm sorry, let me start again. You won't be able to target a table that has a color assignment or is already the target of another link. And the way you'll see this is in the color link builder. Such tables won't even be available in the drop-down, so you won't be able to stumble into that inadvertently. The next thing that's different is the location of color links. they used to be here under cross-table links, but now they are within the color model, and they show up here. Now, when creating a selection link, then the next thing that's a little different is you've always had the option to create a matching color link at the same time that you're creating a selection link. And the question is, since color links are now in color models, where would that go? And the answer is that if you create a color link this way, it'll go in the default color model. And the next thing that's different is the schema export. This has just gotten changes to cover all the new things that we've done with color. So color models are now in the schema export, pages are now in the schema export, and color links appropriately are have foreign keys into the owning color model.
Well, thanks, Daryl and John. And just to the audience, this is, I think, a phenomenal step forward, and continues Advisor's preeminent position in the lead of doing really innovative and powerful things with data visualization. And what Daryl just talked through on the color models and workshop, most vendors, charting and visualization vendors, color the charts. We actually color the data. Then the charts inherit the color from the data in the tables, and it propagates, and we're often running with 5 to 20 to 100 or more tables. And this whole new environment is just a huge simplification and really a risk reduction in what we had before as the complexity of our projects evolved, and we're really excited about it. And color is as you're visualizing data, it's a key way to see metrics, to see outliers, to just identify different elements of the data that are important. And not only by tagging the data are those attributes are seen in all the views and displays attached to the data, but as we build out a project, it's important to be able to have color different things by the themes of the pages, which is why having these separate color models is just a great new step forward. Because if you're looking at maybe a marketing promotion project, there may be a section where you're looking at promotions and want to color by some aspect of the promotion, but maybe further to the right you're looking at customers and you want to color by some aspect of the customers, and this really allows you to do that. And back to what John talked about, the flight recorder, that's been more and more key in our work, and I believe we're the only vendor that does something like this, where this intuitive visual exploration of data is tracked like with this cookie crumbs trail, but then you can bookmark and save selection points and go and reuse them as the data updates. It'll apply to the new data. You can share it with other people, and it's a really, I think, a cool and powerful way for business analysts to snapshot where they are and let other people get to those points, or for them to come back to it later on. So a lot of new stuff in 6.0. We're really excited about it, and please feel free to contact us for more detail if you want to go a little deeper in any of this. Thanks for the time.